On this horror timeline, we're inviting the girls over. We're gonna have a party. A slumber party. A slumber party massacre. That's right, we're gonna check out this classic series and find out if there's any sort of timeline, and we're gonna find out actually who does Susie have a crush on. The party starts back in 1982 with the Slumber Party Massacre. We kick off with an escaped murderer who killed 5 people back in 1969, and he then kills this woman with a drill in broad daylight in a school parking lot, so he's clearly not keeping a low profile. Brink Stevens, one of the original 80s Scream Queens, makes her debut, and when they show the killer, you'd have to guess from his age that we're in real time. If the original killings were in 1969 and he was younger, like 18 or so, when we're set in the early 80s, this is about 13 years later, and he'd be about 31. And then he kills Brink. A bunch of girls have a slumber party. It's in the title. And Valerie here is reading a Vogue magazine from June 1981. And this girl has a Playgirl from July 81, so that's most likely our year. This girl, Courtney, acts like a little kid, but she's most likely a 20-year-old actress. And then this subtle shot happens. This is so subtle of a shot, it's almost subliminal. I mean, what on earth could this possibly be representing? People get killed pretty quickly, and the killer takes a beating with a poker and knife wound, and in a face-off, he gets the tip of his drill chopped off. I mean, do you get it? I mean, it's very, very subtle. He gets chopped and finally impaled on a machete, and we fade out. A sequel took 5 years, and in 1987 we get the Slumber Party Massacre 2, which kicks off with this girl with wings, who turns out to be young Courtney from the first film, now quite a few years older. I mean a bit older, although this high school guy looks 30. Why does every high school kid from the 80s have to look like they're 30 years old? Courtney and her friends are in a band, and Valerie's now in a mental home, and Court dreams about her and then goes away with the girls for a weekend getaway where they... I guess this is dancing? Courtney says the previous films happened when she was 12. Let's look at this. She's 12 years old. This is a 12-year-old girl according to these movies. And she's supposed to be turning 18 now, so depending upon when her birthday falls, this is either real-time 87 or 88, but let's roll with 88. Her dreams get weirder with chickens and bloodbaths and monster zits until this rockabilly driller killer shows up and starts the violence. His drill is actually guitar, and wait a minute. He gets a musical number in which he sings and dances?
So much money, it's a shame. Let's buzz. Let's buzz wild.
And would this guitar drill work? Can you fit the motor for the drill and pickups in the guitar in there? How would you tune it? Just curious. I'm not planning on building my own or anything. Finally, after killing everyone, the killer is just kind of set on fire by Courtney. Really, really easily. Barely an inconvenience. But the whole thing was just a dream. Nope, this one's the dream. Or is this the dream? I guess we'll never know, because we never see Courtney again. 3 more years passed, and in 1990, the trilogy is complete with Slumber Party Massacre 3, which brings in a new group of teens and a new killer with a drilla. There's a slumber party. It's in the title. And this girl is invited, who looks more like a character from Frankenhooker than a teenage girl at her friend's house. Much like the girls in Part 2, these girls again awkwardly dance and strip because, as the ladies in my audience can attest, girls always do this at a slumber party together. One of them gets killed, and they call the police, who of course don't believe them because that's how these things go. And then our killer is revealed, and in a twist, it's not the weirdo lurking outside the house, it's Dapper Ken here. He goes ballistic in the house, and no one just leaves for some reason, and there's doors and windows like everywhere, and no one leaves. Then there's this scene where he has one girl at his mercy, and he's been kind of blinded, and he sets the drill aside and tries to rape her, and this scene goes on for a very long time, until he finally kills her, and they pan around to show the other 3 girls just kind of standing there watching. So, none of these girls even lifted a finger, grabbed a knife, nothing to help this poor girl out. He was blinded, and they didn't do anything. They finally do something and stab him repeatedly with his own drill, and again, no subtext here whatsoever. So there's no date in this one, and it's not connected to the previous 2, so we'll roll with real-time 1990. Now, the Cheerleader Massacre series, of which there's 2 parts, often gets lumped in with the Slumber Party movies, but they're not a part of the series. I'll be covering these shortly in a mini-timeline, where I'll talk about the confusion. So there you have it, it's 3 movies that are somewhat linked. The third one's not. The third one's its own thing, but the first and second kind of have a link. I guess if you want to think that the driller killer from the second one is like a ghost or reincarnation of the killer from the first one or something. It's not really explained too much. I guess they wanted to keep it a little bit vague, but so it's up to you. But it is, it's connected in obviously in the characters a little bit. Another interesting fact about these series, they're linked up thematically because each one of them were written and directed by a woman, which is rather unusual for 80s horrors, especially the 80s horror series like this. So that alone makes this series stand out. Are they fun to watch? Yeah, they're all right. The first one is pretty standard slasher for the time. I love the second one. It's way more over the top and ridiculous, and it's very bad and funny. You'll get a kick out of that one. That's probably my favorite one to recommend because it is pretty ridiculous. Just for the guitar alone to watch it, it's pretty awesome. The third one is the most needless of the 3. It's pretty much just a standard slasher film. I guess that the whole killer reveal is interesting. It's not crazy obvious, so it is a little bit of a surprise, but it's not really that well thought out, but it was okay. So I wasn't mad at any of these ones. They were all at least fun to watch. But if you enjoy them, please let me know down below in the comments. Let me know what you think and all that good stuff. Let me know what other series that you want to see. There will be a video coming up shortly explaining the connection between the Cheerleader Massacre movies as well, too. Look for that in a couple of weeks. Check out my patrons over here. These guys are very, very kind and help keep this channel going. Which you can do as well too by going to patreon.com/movietimelines and kick over some cash to help get these videos made. And in the meantime, I will just say thank you very much for watching. I'm really glad you guys keep coming back to me week after week, and I'll see you again in a little while for another great video. Thanks.